Admittedly, out of all the fire fairies, Gray was my least favorite for a long time. He just felt kinda underwhelming compared to the other more bombastic members of the team. And every time we revisited his backstory revolving around Or and Deliora, my immediate response would be, here we go again. It felt like the story couldn't figure out what else to do with him, and he felt disconnected from the main plot compared to the others. At least until I had finally understood the big picture. Gray's personality is quite understated. On the surface, most people would likely read him as the archetypal, broody, dark-haired dreamboat that has all the gays and gals swooning. Which is true. You're so gorgeous. But there's more going on with his character than meets the eye, and more than he gets credit for. From myself included. The tragedy he endured at a young age, the strife within his family life, his mentorship with Or and rivalry with Leon, his clash with Ultir, and his twisted reunion with his father, Silver. When you line all these disparate pieces up, you get the story of a man who's seen the darkness of the world from a young age, who has been fueled by anger and who knows the depths of loneliness all too well. But through Fairy Tail, he learns to have hope for himself and his future. He becomes a better person who can inspire hope in others who've lost their way, even when they blame him for their misfortunes and losses. And honestly, this man is the definition of dramatic. Just look at his style, his outfits, and how artsy his maker magic is. So today we're gonna talk about why all y'all need to put some respect on Grateful Buster's very unfortunate name. When we first meet Gray, his debut is alongside the rest of the Fairy Tail Guild, where we're meant to empathize with Lucy as the guild's newcomer. And his first impression is an icy pretty boy with literal ice powers and a habit of stripping, which, okay then. I mean, all the gays and gals in the audience definitely appreciate that. As we see more of him, we're witness to his intense brotherly rivalry with Natsu, because fire and ice, or...
Now I understand why you and Natsu don't get along. He's fire and you're ice. Talk about not mixing very well.
I never thought about that.
Nah, I just hate his guts.
And along the way, Gray gives the vibe of being the cool, aloof, stoic member of the team. He's essentially the ideal boyfriend of everyone who is a sucker for broody, grumpy, very pretty men with hearts of gold concealed by a frozen shell. I feel called out. His personality is more subdued than the other fire fairies, which in turn makes it easy for viewers to project whatever they like onto him. Again, ideal to get people to latch on to a potential husbando. Now, season 1 is unique in its structure given it's double the usual length of the other seasons, and has multiple arcs along with standalone and filler episodes. This allows viewers to ease themselves into the world of Fairy Tail, getting to know the characters before being thrown into arcs which can last 20 or more episodes at a time. The 4 major arcs of season 1 are either directly or nominally centered around each of the fire fairies. Phantom Lord for Lucy, Tower of Heaven for Urza, pretty much everything else for Natsu, and then Galuna Island for Gray. Happy gets fish. As the Galuna Island arc progresses, we discover that the cursed island is home to the frozen demon Deliora, which destroyed Gray's childhood home and presumably killed his parents. After Gray lost all he had at such a young age, he was found in the ruins by the ice wizard Or, as well as her student Leon. They took Gray in, and Gray studied his specialized ice make magic under Or's tutelage. Through her, he learned the beauty of maker magic, and he also found a mentor who could help guide him toward a better path. Unfortunately, his desire for revenge hadn't fully faded. Hearing about Deliora going on another rampage, the young Gray decided to go after the beast to avenge his parents, against Or's wishes. Or and Leon came to Gray's rescue, with Or losing her leg in the process, and making the most iconic prosthetic out of ice ever. This woman. Oh my god. To stop the monster, Or used a dangerous and forbidden spell, the iced shell. It transforms the caster's body into an icy prison, which will hold the target in stasis for eternity. Leon attempted to pull off the spell to stop Deliora and prove himself as a wizard, not realizing the cost of the spell, but Or stopped him, then performed the spell herself. In her final moments, Or told Gray that she wanted him and Leon to see the world and enjoy full lives. She had freed Gray from the darkness within him, his desire for revenge, and had given him the hope of a better life free from the threat of Deliora's violence and destruction. Unfortunately, Leon blamed Gray for Orr's death, upset that without Orr, he would never be able to surpass his mentor's magical prowess. They parted ways, with Gray shortly thereafter joining Fairy Tail and learning about the iced shell from Makarov. Orr does technically live on, both in Gray's heart and literally as the ice within the spell that she cast. While Gray was able to move on with his life, meeting new friends in Fairy Tail and building a family for himself, Leon remained fixated on his need to surpass Orr. In his mind, the only way to achieve that goal was to destroy Deliora, who even Orr couldn't slay. Gathering support from those who had also lost their homes and loved ones from Deliora's rampages, Leon located the frozen demon and transported it to Galuna Island, hoping to use the moon trip there to break the iced shell and free Deliora, allowing him to finally slay the beast, even if it risked anyone nearby. This drive to surpass Orr is all that has kept Leon afloat all these years, though naturally he hasn't exactly focused on enjoying life the way that Gray has. Still, Leon weaponizes Gray's guilt for Orr's death, to the point Gray attempts to sacrifice himself via the iced shell to seal Deliora away again when it's about to be freed. Part of him wonders if this is the only way to make things right. But it's not. Natsu affirms that, demanding that Gray needs to live for his friends, as well as his mentor's dying wish, and himself. Orr would never want her students to fight each other, let alone throw away their lives. Ultimately, Gray decides to live. He wants to enjoy life as Orr wished, and knows he deserves that. And so does Leon. When it turns out Deliora had died long ago from the iced shell sapping away its life force, it means that Gray and Leon are free. Leon is devastated, again in despair from having his goal of surpassing Orr ripped away, but this time Gray has the wisdom to tell him that he needs to change his perspective. Leon needs to live his life and cherish friendships that he'd already inadvertently started building with his followers. A lot of people, myself included prior to my rewatch, talk about the Galuna Arc as if it's filler, but I feel like this dismisses its role in getting us acquainted with one of the main characters, as well as the compelling themes at play here. Living on and finding meaning within unimaginable suffering, relying on a found family for support when faced with old demons, literal ones in this case, and choosing to live. I, for one, am a huge fan of the way that Natsu and the story itself calls out this dangerous idea of atonement through death. All hurting yourself does is create more suffering for the people that you love. You deserve to live a full, happy life with the people you love, who also love you. I especially love Lucy's words as she bookends the arc like the authoress queen that she is. After the ice shell melts, Orr's spirit has now gone out to sea, and will stand watch over her students from the sea now on, which turns out to be very important when we meet Ultir, also known as ulterior motives. But this idea of confronting the tragedies of your past and deciding to live on and enjoy life as it is in the present is fundamental in most of Gray's arcs going forward. From his confrontation with Ultir in the Tenro Island arc, to meeting his father Silver in the Tartaros arc. Gray has this dark edge to his character because of what he's been through. He has seen the cruelty and misery of the world firsthand, and in spite of that, decides to move forward and make his own happiness. There are moments his dark side becomes more apparent, especially because the story loves to toy with the idea of Gray going evil several times, even though we know every time he's just being a double agent. But at the end of the day, Gray will always look for the light. Briefly, I want to talk about Gray's magic. His use of Maker magic makes him unique compared to other elemental wizards, and generally speaking, other ice bitches in media as a whole. He's able to create specific, highly detailed constructs out of ice. Cages, guns, arrows, you name it, he can make it. He's basically the Green Lantern, but make it Frozone. It helps make his ice visually more interesting, and also means he's incredibly versatile in combat. Honestly, I wish some other wizards would hurry up and learn Maker magic. certain pink-haired, fire-breathing ones. There's also an artistic side to Maker Magic pointed out by Orr herself. It requires creativity from the caster, forcing them to observe the world around them and then recreate what they see in their own style. Personally, I would love to see some actual artistic applications of Gray's magic in this regard. Seeing him become a magical ice sculptor, I would imagine, would allow for a more interesting avenue for his character as an artsy bitch. I kind of wish they ventured more into Maker Magic as a whole in this regard, not only in its application, but also its parallels to conventional, non-magical forms of art. I would imagine many of the fundamentals of sculpting or painting would likely apply to Maker Magic. What I'm saying is, I want moody art student Gray, who suffers from imposter syndrome and can tell you everything you need to know about why your favorite thing does not get the basics of color theory or proportions. I do love that when he becomes an ice demon slayer, his ice becomes purple, like his father's. Generally speaking, I'm a sucker when elements stray from their conventional colors. Blue fire, pink lightning, purple ice? Yes to all the above. Honestly, I kinda wish Gray's ice was purple from the get-go, but what can you do? That's what Blender models are for. I am jealous, though, that Leon got to have the more unique coloring since, you know, his ice is turquoise, but whatever. Maybe it just means that Leon is bougie. Honestly, I think it would have been cool if Gray had known his father was a demon slayer from the start, and perhaps he had learned about demons and other creations of Xerath as a result of that, coupled with his lasting desire for revenge against Deliora. Knowing the through lines with Gray's connections to Xerath, it made him go from the least connected to the plot of the main characters to one of the most connected. It just needed a better execution. Or rather, it probably helps with hindsight, given I am still surprised that Hiro Mashima is alive, given the brutal turnaround times and terrible work culture of the Japanese manga industry. Oh my god, is he okay? Like, imagine having to get all those fucking pages done on your own in a week for, like, years on end. No fucking thank you. On a lighter note, Gray is generally a lot more artsy and dramatic than he's usually given credit for. Mostly, I'd argue, because of his subdued personality. I mean, just look at his wardrobe, when he's actually wearing clothes, that is. Every outfit he has slays. And unlike Blake Belladonna, this boy can rock a white coat like it's no one's business. My personal favorite look for him, though, is his Grand Magic Games look when he's fighting Rufus in the library. I am a fan of the arm warmers and samurai pants. Oh, and when he goes evil, the slicked back hair, it's everything. Oh, also really love his Tenro Island outfit because he looks great in purple. Purple is his color. And also, it's kind of giving, you know, your dad or grandpa when they're like on vacation and they're wearing like the Hawaiian tropical shirt. But it's giving a gay version of that, which fits because, you know, he's with his ex Loki at that point. As mentioned before, Gray and Natsu have a typical sibling rivalry. Lots of people use that for shipping material, and I respect that, given Gray and Natsu is like baby's first gay ship when they get into Fairy Tail. It's like a queer rite of passage until you develop better taste. Which is to say, the obviously superior pairing of bisexual exes Gray and Loki. They're not endgame, but it's a common relationship. That being said, I love the friendship between Gray and Natsu. They naturally clash being ice and fire, but also given Gray's more measured, level-headed responses compared to Natsu's impulsive and reckless abandon. But make no mistake, Urza is the one with the brain cell. Sometimes. I do wish they did more with Gray and Natsu's clashes as well as their friendship, giving them a proper source of their conflict beyond just their personalities, as well as emphasizing the fact that they do love each other. The others, though, yeah, their friendships with Gray needed more work. It kind of feels like Gray doesn't really get much material with any fire fairy who is not Natsu. For example, Urza. She, Gray, and Natsu are like the base trio of the group, as they have been in Fairy Tail the longest of the team, and they all joined around the same time. Urza first, then Gray, and then Natsu. So Natsu is the little baby, which makes perfect sense, honestly. And then Gray is the forgotten middle child. Given Urza likewise has suffered incredible trauma and tragedy from a young age, I would have liked if that made them some of the closest members. It can be hard for them to relate to others because of how much darkness they've had to endure, losing chances at normal childhoods. Perhaps they confide in each other and no one else, potentially leaving Natsu left out given his more innocent nature. Not to mention, Gray and Urza are easily the most introverted members of the team, and I'm surprised they aren't more regularly exhausted from all the chaos in Fairy Tail. Now, what I wish we got more of is Gray and Lucy content. Given Lucy is a writer, I think going down the art route for Gray could have given them a lot to bond over. They're both creatives. Lucy's just more about prose, while Gray's about visuals. Plus, out of the whole team, they're probably the ones who would have the easiest time acting like normal people. Aside from, again, stripping in public. Gray has suffered through tragedy like Urza, but he's much more low-key compared to how bombastic and over-the-top Urza can be. And then, Gray and Wendy. Do these two ever speak? Is this the ladybug of Fairy Tail? Anyhow, Wendy also dresses to the nines, so let her and Gray be fashion icons together. And also let them do a unison raid where they make a whole damn ice storm together. You are not really part of Fairy Tail until you have caused at least natural disaster levels of property damage. And I will admit it. I am Gruvia trash. For a long while, I was not a fan of the ship given Juvia's obsession with Gray. It kind of reminded me of that weird Bolin and Eska subplot from Korra Book 2, where we're meant to laugh because, it's a crazy woman harassing a man. But I think the second half of Fairy Tail, as well as elongated exposure because shonen will die by their running jokes, have won me over to Gruvia, as well as the fact that Gray Loki does care about Juvia, and they actually develop a tender, subtle romance over the whole show. And it doesn't involve queerbait, yay! Maybe one day I'll make a video specifically about Gruvia, but all I just need to say is that Scarf episode fucked me up real deep. Gray wasn't my favorite character in Fairy Tail for a long while, and he's still not, but I would say he's one of my favorites by this point. There are others I love more, but, he's at least up there. His story of overcoming tragedy, choosing to live and enjoy that life, and inspiring others to do the same really aged like wine for me. With the whole picture in mind, it's pretty easy to arrange everything into a more coherent story for Gray over the course of the series. Could have been executed a lot better, but for what it is, I really enjoyed my diseased interpretation and Gray's iconic fashion. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. If you would like to support myself and the channel further, you can pledge your support over on Patreon or give me a donation via the super thanks button below. And if you are interested, you can check out my own writing via my urban fantasy novel, Diseneribus from the Ashes, wherever books are sold. I'm the Unicorn of War, and Gray's fashion is most certainly not shit show. But the writing of his friendships with anyone who isn't Natsu certainly is. Okay, bye!